we're starting the series focusing on this wonderful vegetable, the potato. They are the most eaten vegetable in the United States. They are found in cuisines all over the world, and they are super versatile. So they can be baked, they can be sauteed, they can be boiled, they can be eaten with a variety of other foods as well. And importantly, kids eat potatoes. So I have a couple varieties of potatoes here. One is a gold interior potato and one is purple. So you can see there's a lot of variety in potatoes, especially the ones that we grow on the farm in Poughkeepsie. This dish is called locro de papa. Locro is an indigenous Indian word that just means a form of squash stew, some kind of stew made from usually a orange sweet squash. But it can also be made locro de papa with potatoes. I have three basic tools. I just need a peeler, a knife, and you can use a kid's chef knife for this to cut potatoes, that works fine, and a spoon. I also have a cutting board, I have a pot with some boiling water, and that's just going to speed up the process and make it easier for us to cook our soup faster. Let's review the 5 simple ingredients for this version of locro de papa. We are using potatoes. I have some gold potatoes. There are about 8 small potatoes here, which I'm estimating to be about 2 pounds, maybe a little bit more than 2 pounds of potatoes, or you could use 4 large potatoes, that would also work. I have a half a cup of cheddar cheese, 1 tablespoon of adobo. Adobo is a collection of seasonings used in Latin cooking, and this is the Goya adobo. It's filled with, there's garlic, there's onion, there's pepper, there's oregano, there's a lot of seasonings in it. And then I have, instead of annatto, I have paprika. It's not authentic, but it is gonna help create some of that color and give it a little bit of an earthy flavor. And last but definitely not least is this wonderful, delicious, fragrant herb, cilantro. So cilantro is like many herbs, they are superfoods. We're not gonna cook it into the dish, we wanna chop it and add it to the dish to give it some fresh and vibrant flavor right at the end. First, peel the potatoes. And I just wanna demonstrate quickly how I would do that. So to peel the potato, whether you have a straight peeler or this is sort of a flat peeler, I want to make sure that you understand 2 things, and especially if you're cooking with your kids, they need to understand these 2 things. The first is what we like to call the claw. So if you have been in Poughkeepsie Food Power after school program, you've practiced the claw so many times and you definitely know how to do it. The claw is when you curve your fingers underneath and you hold the vegetable with your fingers curved like so. And that is so that when you are cutting, your fingers, the tips of your fingers are protected. So even if you're using a kid chef knife, it's really important to practice with your fingers curved like this. So I'm holding the potato with my claw shape, and I want to peel away from my body. So I'm going to peel away, all the way around that side of the potato. I flip it over, and I'm going to peel the other side, or the other end. Again, peeling away from my fingers. Continue to peel all of the potatoes until we are ready to cut. So I'll see you once the potatoes are peeled. So let's go ahead and dice the potatoes. That's the next step. So grab one of your potatoes and grab either your grown-up chef's knife if you're a grown-up, or a kid who's older with permission, or get your kid chef knife. We're gonna make a bridge with our fingers and our thumb over the center of the potato. And then that's where the knife will go, right into the center. You're going to push down with the tip of the knife first and then the rest of the knife after it. Now we've got potato pretty equally cut in halves, and they have flat surfaces, so they sit nicely on the cutting board, much safer to cut. So let's work with just one of the potatoes. We're going to go back to our claw shape. Remember this? Hold the potato with the claw shape, keep your fingers tucked underneath, and slice the potato into, let's say, about 1/2 inch strips. A 1/2 inch would be about the size of your pinky finger if you're an adult, maybe your thumb if you're a kid. So I've got strips of potato. This is what they look like. And now I'm turning those strips so that they are the long ways. When I cut them, they were the vertical up and down ways. Now I'm going to turn them horizontally. And again, cutting about the same size across, but this time those strips are going to turn into a dice. Yeah. You could also boil the potatoes whole. That's totally, you could peel them, boil them whole. That's going to take a lot longer. Your potatoes are probably going to need about 30 minutes to boil or longer. So this is just going to help you cook your potato soup in more like 15 minutes, which is a nice time saver. Okay, we've diced one potato. We need to dice all the potatoes. So why don't you pause the video here and I will see you back with your beautiful diced potatoes. Guess what? Time to cook these potatoes. All right, so you have your wonderful bowl of chopped potatoes. And like I mentioned before, it's really great to have boiling water already on the stove. So be careful when you're adding them in. Of course, this is not a part for kids to do. This is adults only. You want to add the potatoes, like put the bowl down in the pot so that you don't splash yourself with hot water when you're adding the potatoes. The water just covers the potato. You don't need to have the potatoes floating in a lot of water because the water is going to be the liquid to cook our potatoes. So I'm just going to put the lid on, get it back to boiling, and then let it simmer for about 15 minutes or 20 minutes. Chop the cilantro while we're waiting for those potatoes to cook. That way when we're done with the potatoes, we're basically done with our soup. So I'm gonna lay the cilantro down, the clean cilantro on my cutting board. I'm holding it with the claw, and I'm gonna cut the stem just where the leaves start growing, because that's the part of the stem that's the most delicious. And I'm gonna continue to chop this cilantro by sort of bundling it up in my fingers, holding it with the claw against the cutting board, and then you can use your chef's knife to chop the cilantro by sawing back and forth. Okay, so I'm back with the potatoes that are totally cooked. When I pierce them with a fork, they are starting to just break right apart. And this is a little over 10 minutes, so it wasn't even the full 15 minutes that I thought it would be. One of the important supplies for this recipe was not mentioned in the beginning, and that is a potato masher. And we need a potato masher or a blender. Either way will work. But this is for a household that has kids, and if your kids are anything like the kids in our after school program, they love mashing things. Like, give them a masher and they are all in. If your potato soup does look too liquidy after you blend it or mash it, guess what? You can cook a few more potatoes and add it in after the fact. No one will know. I put in most of the cheddar, and I'm gonna save a little bit to garnish it at the end. To stir it and melt that cheddar cheese. If you have taken this off the stove because you're doing it with kids, just pop it back on the stove so you can melt that cheddar into the soup. And to finish our soup, we're gonna top it with a little bit more cheddar. You could also use other cheeses for this, like mozzarella, queso fresco. You could use any kind of cheese that's gonna give it just a delicious, creamy addition. And that is it. That is our delicious finished dish of locro de papa. At Poughkeepsie Farm Project, we always say thank you farmers, and we say thank you chefs.